Okay, we're almost set to go. You might not recognize me because I look a lot smarter. This is actually something you don't know about Marcus Tober. These are actually fake glasses. Or what do you say? Like this is Fensterglas. A fashion item. Yeah, you see he's a fashion victim, right? And these are actually a fashion item. But he looks really also much smarter when he wears them. Yeah. So we will need that. Yeah, welcome to Webmasters on the Roof. Woohoo! Yeah. All right. You guys all been partying. There's a guy sitting back there. He's like, oh shit, man, I drink too much. Yeah. Even get out of bed for this thing. And now, okay, what I'm stuck with. Okay, let me introduce you to my fantastic panelists. And I want to start, of course, with Lisa Myers. Lisa Myers is the founder and a boss of award-winning SEO agency Verve Search. I think you also founded Women in Search.
That's right.
I think. And I really got to say, I know her for a long time. I know I stalk them. I stalk the work you guys do, and they really do an astonishing work for their clients. Really, I mean, this is like really the content marketing pieces I send around to people when people ask me, hey, you know, what's a great example for content marketing? Those are the examples I share, and I hope you will share some on stage as well. Please give it up for Lisa Myers.
Thank you.
I will go next. Whoa.
This is good. Wow. Awesome.
Now I'm awake.
Okay.
Wide awake. So let me continue to introduce the people. Of course, you probably just have seen him on stage. If you have not, you really missed out on something. I really got to say this was really fantastic. This was definitely the most, my favorite talk of this year's SMX. Really actionable, really inspiring. I'm like really, oh shit, I don't want to do Webmasters on the Roof. I want to go on my computer and do some shit, really. Yes. Yeah. And this is what he preaches, real company shit. Also, he says on his Twitter profile that he is also whatever I say he is. Yeah, that's what it says on the Twitter profile. So I would say he's a hack of an SEO and also a great dad. Oh, give it up for Will Reynolds.
There you go.
Yeah. Eric, I think Eric, the last time we met was 10 years ago at PubCon. When I heard he was here at SMX Munich, oh, I got to get him on stage here for Webmasters on the Roof. He has no idea what he's agreed to. So he works for a fantastic company, Stone Temple Digital Marketing. And he also does very funny videos together with his congenial partner, Mark Traphagen. Or I think I said it correctly. Okay. And they're really funny, and you also learn something while you're laughing, so that's always a good thing. So, a true old hand at SEO. Please give it up for Mr. Eric.
Thank you.
Yeah, Marcus, I don't have to say a lot of words about Marcus. He's the CTO of the fantastic SEO tool company Searchmetrics. And also, since last night, he's also our Search Personality of the Year 2017, and if I might add, well-deserved. Please give it up for Mr. Marcus Tober. And then last on stage, he has probably the longest trip here together with Shah Menz, although she didn't come from Australia. But he's coming from Australia. He's one of the most famous SEOs in Australia. He also likes to experiment a lot with stuff, not just in the SERPs. He's also doing ice cream and 3D printing and all sorts of shit. Always when I see his Facebook profile, there's always new something coming up. And also big spiders, which I'm very afraid of. So please give it up for Australian SEO legend DEJAN Petrovic. All right, so as you might know, this is an open format, so at any point in time, just raise your hand, and I will rush to you with a microphone, or we have some microphones set up as well, so if you have questions, just shoot them out. This is really an open format, but I also have questions as well. And I want to start with the first question because this is still a SEO show, so to speak, and there was a big update now everybody's talking about. I really have to say I don't give a shit about it. I read only the name, I read a couple of words about it, and I really don't care about the updates, but I think we should still discuss it. So I want to direct my first question to Jean. Who is Fred?
Fred is Gary's goldfish, I think.
Is it?
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, it's actually named after Gary Illysh's fish.
Really?
Yeah, that's what Fred is. But people have been speculating about what Fred update does, and it appears most of the consensus is around quality. Oh, surprise, surprise! It's a quality-related update, but in a sense that it demotes websites with aggressive advertising and some speculation around, it's again links and link networks and so forth. Nobody's really quite sure. But what I do know is that looking at our data, for those who are not familiar with algoroo.com, it's a tool that tracks what Google is up to. So it's still hot, we're still in orange. So it's not one of the biggest updates we've had. It hasn't gone into red, but it's significant. It's been going on for 5 days now.
And it's actually not just AdGuru, it's actually all of them. It's like SEMrush, everybody who has the sort of index, Moz, Weathercast, they all show this, yeah.
They're all showing significant heat still happening. So it looks like it's an ongoing thing. There's a chance that it might be forever. So we see these SERP epochs from time to time. So when an update happens on a certain day, the level of flux remains consistent from that point on. Mm-hmm. So it becomes the norm. At that point, we actually have to tweak our scale, so it shows green after that for what used to be orange, just to not confuse people. So we're about to see, the longest one I've seen was 7 days of fluctuation before it settled. But if it doesn't settle within 7 days, that's the new norm. We're going to continue seeing the equal level.
But the Phantom update, the last one, not the last one, the one in October last year, also went on for 2-3 weeks.
2-3 weeks, yeah. and then it settled
yes,
after
and then
that.
we had the last Phantom just a couple of weeks ago.
That's perhaps another update followed after Phantom and brought the results back to the usual level of flux.
But that's the thing, right? I mean, so I hear this about quality, I hear somebody saying, okay, this is about links, and it's about interstitials, it's about too much ads, whatever, so it's a panda, it's a penguin. Is it really a Fred? So is it really like a standalone thing that does something very specifically? You have some data?
I mean, a couple winners from the Phantom update, which happened then 5-6 weeks ago, winners, so just lost now. So it also seems that Google made some adjustments on the old update.
There was maybe a flip-flop happening in a sense. But what I've seen, I have an actual...
Hier drauf machen, wenn du willst.
Yeah, it's on my phone.
So. Oh, okay. I have an actual case that happened. One of my clients who just signed up, they've purchased an old domain, a very generic, expensive domain, and they've migrated to that domain. Since then, for about 2 years, they haven't had any traffic. Absolute disaster. It's not the classic migration scenario. It's just not performing. So they've paid the big bill for us to investigate, and he calls up and sends an email, says, "You guys are awesome. What did you do?"
Yeah, it's great.
Everything is fixed. You guys are so great. I said, no, it wasn't us. This was Fred, and because it correlated on exactly the same day when the Fred happened.
Crazy.
So it's a domain with a bad history. So it seems the client was convinced he was links. So there seems to be links that's an element. A lot of baggage came with that domain. So we know that for a fact that it has some sort of link correlation, unless it's a complete coincidence, which seems unlikely at this point.
Well, one of the interesting things about this update is that Google doesn't even consider it particularly significant.
Yeah.
I mean, as we know, they're making changes all the time, and they make changes every single day. They tweak something, they're always testing. But I think the reason why we're noticing it is it seemed to hit sort of a similar group of sites. So it made a marked impact in one sort of area where people are talking about a combination of too ad heavy and not enough content quality and all that. But to Google, it's just another routine, tweak.
Yeah, just another iteration of Panda, who's a little bit more like extreme maybe, but could still be, right, if it's about the quality. Is anybody in here affected by Fred? What's your site?
It's an old affiliate site we had.
Can you give me the URL so we can really see if it's quality domain? Abnehmtipps for you.de. That sounds totally legit. Abnehmtipps for you, so? For you oder? Ah, genau. Ja, de.
It's a horrible site. And we recovered so we tried to recover the site. It hasn't recovered yet. So it was ranking top 5 for schnell abnehmen, so fast weight loss. And when Fred hit, it lost all rankings, like every single ranking we had, and it was like stuff like weight loss 2 out of the top 100. But it's old spammy site, so it was expected.
Okay. Yeah, but this, of course,
be user
probably
signals again.
lots of affiliates is also what I heard. Lots of affiliates got hit by that stuff. It's here, typical affiliate site. Somebody else got hit by Fred? You don't have to say URL, don't worry.
Did anyone benefit from seeing other sites move out of their way?
You also benefited? So what's that site?
Yeah, but other clients, just our normal clients, they all went up pretty huge jumps.
Yeah.
Really?
But this is probably they also in that same niche. So this is like the brand, and those are the affiliate sites.
Same niche, but exactly on the same day, we had this site completely destroyed, and other clients have like huge jumps.
So it was a good day.
Yeah, it was an awesome day.
Yeah, like fuck that affiliate shit. I'm doing some legit stuff now. Okay.
So are you a white hat? That's the main question.
Yeah, sure. But
Sure.
Sure. What do you think?
I started in 2009 with pure black hat SEO. So till 2012, I was only doing black hat stuff and ranking crazy shit like weight loss #1 in Germany. And then we completely switched to white hat, but we still have old sites, which is really funny because you see some sites suddenly recover for no reason. Insane.
Yeah. So how many people in Germany search for weight loss? What did you mean, the German weight loss team?
160,000 searches.
No, I know. I try to make fun of you, but no, it's okay. Forget about it. Get off. All right. Anybody else have some findings on Fred? You don't care about Fred. Don't just think about it hard. I don't care about updates.
It could be that it's just maybe some more tweaks on RankBrain. If RankBrain is not only looking at the query itself, also looking at all the user signals, combining, crunching them. So, I mean, that's a typical example of user signals. If you say in the same niche, there's a big brand like L, they won, and an old affiliate site that was using more or less the old SEO tactics, they lost, but they have bad user signals. That's a typical example from my perspective of how Google is going to use RankBrain. Not just understanding the query, also understanding the user signals according to the content. So.
Sure. Although it doesn't necessarily need to be RankBrain, it's some sort of machine learning algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, everybody now uses RankBrain as an explanation, but it could be something else.
No, definitely. But okay with Fred. I just had to throw it in since it was so recent, and we also want to discuss recent developments. Eric, you talked yesterday about AMP and PWA, so maybe you can answer this first. So Google is pushing AMP very heavily. I think really Google has never pushed anything so hard as the AMP. And I mean, what do you think? If I already have a fast site, I really care about page speed, I already have a fast site, do I really need AMP? Or could it also be that the little signal, the little lightning bolt, so to speak, which marks AMP content, will be such a CTR booster because people will learn that if you click that, like a result with that symbol, it's just much faster. So although your site is fast, you just don't get the clicks because you don't have the lightning symbol, meaning that you will eventually have to move to AMP to still be relevant, to still get some traffic. And on top of this, do you think that Google could ultimately basically claim, with AMP, basically claim all mobile development, like AMP really make it a standard for the mobile web?
So I think there were about 3 questions in there, yes?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I didn't lose track. I did share yesterday one case study from a site, ringier.ch. Bjorn Beth from that company is actually here at the conference. But he said that he showed data that their click-through rate, just because of the little lightning symbol, went up by almost 2 times. Wow. And which seems really high to me. I was very surprised by this data point because I wouldn't think that many users yet understand what the lightning symbol means, other than, oh, what's this? Maybe that's a curiosity. Might have been what drove that. So Google is going to push this very hard. I think the trade-off for people is, do you want your pages loading from the Google cache when somebody clicks on a search result? The look and feel of the page is clearly modified. You have to do that to make AMP work. It's a little bit harder. Yes, you can get your ads to run in it, but some ad units won't work very well. Analytics should work, but there's some issues with that. They'll get that fixed eventually. But the other thing to consider is if you don't want to have your site in the Google cache, think about using AMP as a coding standard and just use it for your regular desktop pages.
Mm-hmm. Because that's what Google wants, yeah, definitely.
Right, because it makes sense. I mean, another data point I shared yesterday is we had a web page that was 100 kbytes before we implemented AMP on it, and it was 28 kbytes after AMP. So from 100 to 28, it's already obvious that it's going to be faster. And there's so much benefit to making your site lightning fast. There's so much data that shows that people really respond to it well. I mean, one data point was a 20% reduction in search traffic and revenue for Google for a 0.4 to 0.9 second delay in the search results. 20%. So people care a lot about speed. Users care a lot about speed. You should be pushing it. Probably everybody in this room should be pushing it harder than they are, including everybody on this stage right now. It's a big deal.
One thing that I think is very interesting, though, is why. Why are Google wanting to push AMP so much? And that's an interesting point in itself. Like, it totally makes sense that one of the biggest costs for Google is the space. And by having everything on their servers, they don't need to use any. So they will find any way of making this a reality for as many sites as possible. And then it will obviously open up a whole nother potential of like what happened with Google products and shopping, or whatever we called it at one point, of making this their own platform of publishing.
Well, there's another benefit to Google out of this too, since basically Google really doesn't want to have more things to crawl, right? So in theory, your AMP page is just a purely stripped down version of the other page, but all the content is still there. And so that makes life a little easier for them from a mechanical perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely pushing away from crawling to give us structured data. I don't care about the website, I just want the data. Right. If you're a restaurant owner, I just want when you're open, what food do you serve, what's the price, how people like it. I don't need your website, I just need the data.
Yep. And remember, they then don't need to crawl it to find out when anything changes.
Absolutely.
It's like that.
Yeah. Definitely. I think if you can put it on the main screen real quick. So this is something, this was like one of the eye-opening moments for me, because Eric, this is exactly what you said. This is mproject.org, so the page from the AMP project. Actually, by the way, if you didn't know, AMP was actually invented in Hamburg. Did you know that? It is made in Germany. Malte Uber shared that on stage at Online Marketing Rockstars.
Like the hamburger was invented in Hamburg? Or? I'm just kidding.
Okay. Mr. Funny Man here. I'm the guy making jokes, okay? So, nice website, right? Because when we think of AMP, we always think of this stripped down version and, just text and maybe an image. Look at this website, right? It looks like a normal website. And if you look at the source code, that's AMP, right? So this is really what they're trying to achieve, right? That people, as you said, Eric, also making their desktop pages with AMP, Screw HTML,
Yeah.
or of course AMP is just a subset of HTML, but AMP, this is the thing, and they're really pushing this hard, basically defining that standard.
Yeah, no, I mean, eBay is an example of a very large site that is implementing some of their, they're doing some tests with basic pages on the site just in AMP. And I know one Fortune 25 company that's a client of ours that I can't name that is also doing that. So they're just experimenting with this, making it their regular pages. And, this isn't bad looking, right?
No, absolutely. So, but not bad looking. Lisa, Will, you guys do incredible content marketing campaigns, very creative, pictures, sliders, do cool stuff. I've seen the stuff you did for Expedia and stuff. This is like really like multi-experience kind of thing. How does that come into the picture, right? Now we got to dumb down everything again. No JavaScript and we have like everything is just about speed. We're sacrificing JavaScript on an altar for speed, right? So, but how does content marketing come into play in this? How do you guys see this?
Well, we don't use AMP for this at the moment.
At the moment.
But we could in some of them. Like anything using data, it's no reason why you can't have that in AMP format. That's fine. But you will always have those kind of limitations but you can still do both. I think the problem is that we kind of think a little bit too like all or nothing with this. You can have your most important pages that have the most of it being content-based should be AMP, and any other things. That doesn't mean that you don't get the benefit of the other stuff. The links, for example, doesn't change whether the links go into one or the other. So it doesn't really matter yet. It might do. What would matter though is if all of this, it will be on servers or on Google's or someone else's platform, and then you can make do without any of these signals that we're obviously caring about. Which I'm sure Marcus would say something about.
That's a tough one, because I haven't given it much thought. There's so many different things that encompass SEO that I think we all need to determine what our area of focus is going to be. And for me, obviously, as you just saw, my focus is what is the best way to answer this person's problem? And that will lead me to AMP, potentially, right? If I go, man, think about this person, they're traveling, they're in India, they're somewhere, maybe internet's slower, if they're not in a metropolitan city, if they're not, you start thinking, okay, well, what is that person's context? And I think that leads me into different areas. Right now, I try to mostly work on highly complex problems, right? So it's the problems that you're never gonna get an answer box for. It's the problem that you're not just I was reading this really quick. It's usually how do I build a deck, right? Is different than what's the price of 1 square foot of this decking material, right? So I tend to focus more on those bigger, broader problems, which right now we're just making sure that they're extremely friendly on the mobile and things like that, but we're not getting into much AMP
so
when
you
it
don't
relates
care
to
about no technical stuff. It's really about you do the right content, you reach the people.
We have a separate team for that, so we actually had to separate that out. I just saw technical getting so complex, separate from trying to get one person in one brain to be able to think about the people and then separate that person out and have them also think about how to scrape and then have that person also. So what we're trying to do now is realize that all these things have to work really well together, but in order to stay deep in these areas, it's really hard to do them all. So I think it's like the old Steve Jobs quote, you have to be really good at deciding what you're not gonna do, or otherwise you become just another agency. It's yeah, I'll do your content, speed it up, write it, PPC it, Facebook it, and you're okay, you have 3 people. How is a 3-person agency going that deep in all this and being at the cutting edge? You're not. So for us, we're very particular about what we choose to go into because, you listen to these guys and girls, what am I gonna tell these guys about freaking AMP? Nothing. So all right, we think this user has a need to speed this page up, great. Here's a group of people who I could call, who I'd say, hey, help me with this client, versus me trying to bullshit my way through it as an agency. So we have a separate technical team, but even on AMP, they're not that deep yet.
Yeah, but that's something what Will said is very important for all of you, because it always depends on your prioritization and your industry. Because if everyone in every company would immediately jump on the train, I mean, that a couple of people do, or go and follow a trend that Google is promoting, I mean, look how large the projects are when companies migrate to HTTPS, for example. For some companies, it takes a year or longer. So imagine now you work in a large organization with a lot of dependencies. Of course, last year we migrated to HTTPS. Now we migrate to AMP. So the velocity is something that's a problem. So you really have to make sure that in your industry you do the right things. And if you're in an industry where it's more important to have a fast, responsive site, but you do not need AMP, then you shouldn't migrate to AMP. So that's what I believe. And eBay is a good example. If people just want to have a transaction very quick, AMP maybe is a good thing, right? So it really depends on what your needs are, I mean, for your user, and what you can accomplish with your organization.
But I truly believe that the user will learn this and will demand it, so to speak. Because I can see it with Facebook. I think you guys all know this, right? You scroll through your Facebook stream and you have an instant article or a normal article, right? Normal article, fuck that shit, right? Instant article, right there. I can just like really read it. Who does the same thing, right? If you can choose, you would always choose the instant article. Somebody, yes, I would.
Well,
I like slow-loading websites. I'm a masochist. Right? Oh, this guy up there. Okay. So he's the one.
But Facebook instant articles is even worse, because, in a sense, because then you're moving to Facebook at that point. You don't have a choice of doing something on your own site with it. I mean, your article's over there. I mean, the user never comes to you.
Yeah.
Right? They're on Facebook.
It's still marketing. It's just not about your property. You don't own it anymore.
Well, you have to decide what you're going to do with it. And of course, I don't think you're ever going to get to retail transactions on Facebook instant articles. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but for content, it's probably fine, because you have a piece of content, people come see it, and then they go back to Facebook. Let's be serious. How many of your blog pages do you get that result in 12 page views on your site? I mean, most of the time, people are coming for the content. Hopefully, they get a really rich experience. You get some branding value out of it. And that's probably what they wanted. It doesn't mean you can't do the right things to try to get them into other things on your site. But bounce rates on blogs are high.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll have to give Marcus major kudos for this, because I think it inspired a good part of what some of the stuff that I've started to do. Is when you showed a presentation, I think it was at SMX West last year, and it was kind of like best practices are done. And you broke down how like links in this industry, important, links in this industry, and you just looked at so much data that like I think like AMP or Fred or whatever it is, to go back to what Marcus was saying, you almost need to determine like how that affects your vertical and your industry. Like click-through rate curves, if you're looking for a freaking heart surgeon, you're going to go to page 2, aren't you? Yeah, that's what I thought, right? So it's like this concept of like, try really hard to make your own best practices and pull enough data in your tools to understand your industry and what matters in your industry. Because that was so eye-opening when Marcus presented that. And I was in your session for a little while, but it was all in German, so I wasn't sure if it was similar content. But like that was very eye-opening for me, because I think we've just kind of looked very blanket at like, well, links are good and links are important. And you're like, well, not in these industries. Here's the data. And I was like, man, that's really smart.
Yeah, definitely. Ranking factors are dead, but I think this is what you told this morning. But talking about data, do you have some data on the development of AMP pages? How many pages actually AMP, and how this developed over time?
Yes, we do. I mean, AMP
you don't want to tell. Yes, we do, but I don't tell you.
No. We regularly do studies on that, and when AMP came out, only news publishers were the target for Google, because I mean, news is something you want to consume very quickly. And a significant amount of the news publishers, they really utilized AMP. I don't have the current number for news right now. I only looked at organic AMP, but when I stopped, about 1/3 of the news integrations were already AMP, and for some topics like the Oscars, like the Academy Awards we just had a couple of weeks ago, AMP was the dominating thing. There was almost no publisher who didn't use AMP. So you see that there's a big utilization of AMP already. And when you look at organic rankings, that's what I said today in the morning, 1 out of 10 results are already AMP. So and Google just started to allow normal website owners to utilize AMP, so it's already 10%. And if you see for your vertical that this helps, the CTR is increasing, conversions are increasing, then of course you continue to use AMP, and your competitors, they will see it and they will do it too. So there's kind of acceleration of when more people are using AMP. So it really depends, but we see a significant usage already.
Who in here already switched to AMP? Okay, a couple of you.
It's less than 1 out of 10. So.
Yeah, really. Okay. Bartosz did. All right.
There you go.
And how many people we want to switch to AMP in the next year? Okay. And who says, I don't give a fuck about AMP, take my slow-dealing website. You're going to deserve the right to be on my website. You got to wait. Who's doing this?
Have you ever seen our lead form?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen our lead form? We are discouraging people from filling it out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm all, yeah.
Where's your lead form?
Slow.
SEERinteractive.com?
I'm not intentionally going to make it slow, but.
What are you talking about?
No, if you go to our lead form, it's arduous. It's a pain in the ass. People don't like it.
You're using it as a qualifying mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a small BD team. Like, I don't want to hire a bunch of people to say no.
So it's like you got to watch this 1 hour video.
Oh, dude, if you wanted to fill this out
before you can actually fill it out.
Yeah, I mean,
you have to really want it.
Yeah, like we ask you what your freaking goals are, right?
We can't wait to chat with you. We're just kidding about that.
Yeah, no, seriously. But no, like I think certain processes, not making your website slow, like that's just dumb. Like who wants it to be slow, right? I don't want my website to be slow, but there's a business reason. Most people, Marcus, I love you, dude. I love being on stage with you just because you make me think differently.
Do you want to room you two?
I might bromance, yes. No, but like seriously, the dude makes you think like, stop applying best practice. Like he's really got me thinking like, yeah, because in our business, best practice would be like, if you want to actually get leads, which I do, you would make a form that's easy to fill out. And then what that caused for us when we had a very easy to fill out lead form is we were getting a lot of calls from people because we ranked for SEO company that were completely unqualified. So then I had to hire a bunch of people just to say no and refer out to other people. And I was like, man, that's a lot of money spent just for people to say, hey, here's some people we recommend. Hey, here's some people we recommend. So we just made the lead form really hard. And some people comment in there that they hate it. And we don't reply to those. We had one of the largest brands. I mean, so they're not a client, so I don't have to say anything. Red Bull hit us up on that form, and they were literally like, we hate this form. And I'm like, sorry.
But you filled it out.
Yeah, but he asked us for web design. I'm like, that's why we have the form, jackass. Because people don't read shit. We don't even do web design, bro. Like, it's like, wow, you're helping web design. I was like, stop it.
Yeah.
Delete.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
I don't care how big you are, man. Like, it's bullshit. So anyway.
Yeah. All right. Let's stop with AMP. I think another interesting thing came up yesterday. Yeah, I've been too much partying. Yesterday. And Ren said this in his keynote, and I really never heard Ren say this before. He was actually almost formulating SEO is dead, right? Don't worry, I'm not going to say SEO is dead, but he said, like the first time I actually heard him say there is something that that has the potential to kill off SEO at all, and this is voice search, right? So not the normal voice search that I'm just formulating my question instead of typing it, but the Amazon Echo, the whatever, and I'm basically ordering something, and there's just no SERPs anymore. It's really just whatever Google says it is. So how do you guys see this? 5 years? Are we still gonna have? Talk about SEO.
God, so many times I've had this conversation in the last few months, usually with people that have been at some random fucking place with someone from Google that said voice search is going to... But there's no such thing as voice search. It's AI. That is the... Voice search is just search in a different format. It's the result of that is the threat. It's the AI of it that's the threat. That you won't need the results yet. Voice search is not really, that's just a different, whether you talk it, whether you type it, doesn't really make a difference. It's what whether it will take away the option, whether the AI will know that you, well, let me finish, whether the AI will actually, whether the AI will actually already know that your car insurance is out and already know which one you prefer and already do it for you so that you don't go through the results. That's the threat. That's the threat that could potentially then lead to us having to think differently. But voice search being a threat, it's like the naming of that is annoying. End of rant. You can speak now.
Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay. I'll tell you.
No, I think what maybe people should differentiate between voice search and the other search is conversational search. I think this is what Rand meant in his keynote, and I guess what Marcus meant, because if you just talk to your phone and the phone does still the same, it's just receiving the query as voice, then it's different. But when you see Google Home or Amazon Echo device or Echo devices, this is more conversational search, and that's definitely a threat for all companies who build their business on only information, and especially information that you can receive very easily, like structured data, like data who can be acquired from companies, because Google is buying a lot of data. I mean, if you are, for example, flightmap.com or flight whatever stuff, and people ask, okay, what's the status of the flight, or how long does that flight? I mean, this is information that Google can get from every airport in a structured way. So why should your business rely on that simple information? So you can ask Google Home, hey, when is flight X to Z, arriving in Berlin? Oh, great, cool, it's arriving then, and then maybe just also order.
You give an example. Now I'm interrupting. Sorry. That's an example of that only has one answer, the right answer. But there are loads of information questions that are several.
Yeah, but let's take the cloud computing. Let's take the cloud computing example.
Yeah,
so you did a great piece of content for cloud computing.
I have a different take on this.
Okay.
So, I mean, I shared some data yesterday. By 2020, 75% of the internet-enabled devices in the world will be something other than a smartphone, a tablet, or a PC. 75%. That's 3 years away. So, and Amazon Echo and Google Home are an example of this. The reason why it's a threat is because when I talk to Amazon Echo or Google Home, I typically get, how many results do I get? That many. One.
Yes. Yeah.
One. So if you aren't, I mean, if it's a fact, like how fast does a peregrine falcon fly, then obviously you're not going to get that. And if it's something that it needs from a third-party source, you have to be the featured snippet, or you get nothing.
Yeah, but this is what I said, Eric, that if this is the simple information, because this is what you mostly also have in the direct answer boxes already. So this is really the easy stuff.
It's not really about the mode of search, which is the voice. It's about if you're in a business of providing quick answers, then you're competing with Google. It makes no business sense.
Exactly.
So that's one problem. The other thing that people think voice search is a threat. I see it as an ally. I see it as an opportunity. And if I can put my futurist hat, like let's look at 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I think Google will they're actually holding back. They can do a lot more with conversational search. They've actually scaled some things back from how they started. So what we're looking at here is data collection mechanism. Your computer will talk back to you and ask you random things. How's your morning? Did you sleep well? Did you have tea? Start getting nutritional data, your habits, and learn about you, cater advertising. So you'll actually have you guys seen a film called Her?
Yeah.
So that's coming. That's a pretty accurate representation of what's coming. So voice search gives Google that feedback mechanism that will tell them a lot more about us, and that's the valuable data that they need to supply better advertising.
So you just had a good shit this morning, but I think
you know
need some iron.
What's happening? I gave a 10-year projection about conversational search. It's called Conversations with Google. Just Google it, and the actual timeline is in there. Let's see how accurate it gets. So far, it's been spot on.
What would that mean then for search?
And there's also one thing, I mean, if we see, okay, that's a potential threat for SEO, I see this as a much bigger threat for every other company, especially in e-commerce, because, I mean, if you search for something like, I don't know, iPhone 7, not Apple gets all the sales, there's a diversity. Best Buy is selling phones, Target is selling phones, Walmart is selling phones, and if the devices like, I mean, Echo is of course connected to Alexa. You can very quickly make the purchase on Amazon. With Google Home, if it's the same system, you could say, okay, Google, give me a good deal for this product, and then, hey, you have my Google Wallet, so you have my credit card, you have my address. You maybe also know when I'm home because you have access to my calendar. So Google can make the job for me. And this is when you look at the e-commerce industry. If you sell these products, you have to worry more than SEO people, I guess, because, I mean, we in SEO will still kind of figure out how can we, make things work to be kind of in the spot where the user is. But if you are selling your products, this could be a potential threat, like PLA. When Google, started this for free, this service, and then completely switched to a paid model, could be very similar to Google Home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Of course.
That's true. And I do very much agree that if anyone be able to figure out what will happen next, that is the DNA of an SEO. That is what we do. What we call it, like in my session this morning, I was talking about, we have to stop being so worried about the boxes we're in, or whether we're tech SEO, whether we're creative SEO, whatever it is we have to just keep on taking action, right? And see whatever comes and adapt to it. That is what we do best.
Or same for publishers. I mean, if publishers make their money with display ads and the traffic, I mean, also cookies, when people come to their website for retargeting with Google Home and you want to have the newest news, there is no click, there is no display ad, there is no cookie. I mean, I don't want to be the devil's advocate here, that this is a bad thing for all of us. That's absolutely not true. But we have to see that if there's a very big coverage of these devices, we have to find new ways to reach the user and make money. I mean, right. Absolutely.
I think it's time we got a voice search item in the search console for Google. I think we should push them on that. We really want to understand how much of our traffic and how is coming from voice search already.
Although really maybe nice Google doesn't want you to know at this point in time.
At the moment,
maybe a little bit later.
They're not in the process of adding more information. They're in that process.
Yeah. But like Eric said, right, it's this one, you have only one result. Buy me the new iPhone. Yeah. Cheapest deal for the new Samsung Galaxy. I'm not searching anymore. It's just he finds the cheapest deal, sends it to my house.
But that's a problem. Google is not going to find the cheapest deal for you.
It's going to find the Google.
It's like with Google's product listing ads. They don't display the cheapest deal for you. They only display the deals they have, and not everyone is willing to pay for giving Google their product data. So that's really interesting. So.
Well, who doesn't ask doesn't know, right? But with the cloud computing example, the same, right? You do an amazing piece of content for the client, and all of a sudden people are just asking, "Hey, what is cloud computing?" And this voice basically just tells you what it is, right? And nobody searches for that anymore. And though also in this course, maybe also the SERPs will change, because now people that are looking for cloud computing actually want to buy something because, I already know, right? Because all the informational part is already, or conversational, and this is now only maybe the transactional part.
Yeah. No, it's, sorry about that. I think the whole voice search thing is just interesting. It's just interesting to me. I'm just watching it. I'm watching adoption. Like that's like my thing is, I'm like, we're probably pretty early adopters.
Google said last year in December that 20% of all mobile searches are already voice searches.
Wow.
Who are
Yeah, but the most important is call mom. Call mom. That's a voice search, right?
Yes.
I have not ever, other than Siri, what's my name, and got the Siri to tell me that.
I guess Google also means Google also includes like,
hey, what's my name?
Yeah, because I programmed to say, your name is Wonder Woman. That's why. That's obviously funny all over the place. But I
was like, what's my name? What's my name?
Yeah, what's my name, mate? So obviously, the point I'm proving here is that I haven't seen anyone doing that.
This is exactly where I'm at. Like, and I could be skeptical. I was super wrong on e-commerce on the mobile, but I consider myself to be an early adopter. Like I consider myself to be somewhat knowledgeable about search, and I'm always trying new things. Because I don't care what medium I use, I just want it to be easy, right? I want my answer as easily as possible. And I do not talk to my Google Home that way, my Alexa that way. So I'm looking around. If there's 20% voice search, I'd imagine this would be the room to do it. Does anybody, like 1 in 5 of your searches, you're talking to your fucking phone on?
Please, I want to see.
Yeah, maybe I'm too old, right? We got this guy, and he ain't buying shit from me, so I don't care. Like, seriously.
You're absolutely right. I ain't buying shit from you.
So you don't exist to me. Like, so it's kind of like, where are the people who wake up and do all their searches on their phone?
1 second. Or also to all the others, you have ever seen anyone walking around the street having the phone like this and then talking?
Yes.
Okay, why do people do that?
I always thought they were on speakerphone.
Are they afraid of putting the phone on their ear?
I thought they were on speakerphone. I thought they were talking to their friend. Like, people tend to talk to their friends that way.
I mean, what I'm wondering is, why do these people have switched on their speakers so they can hear through the speakers the other party talking, and they hold the phone like this and they go through the streets?
It is weird.
I'm always wondering.
Does anybody do this so we can clear it up? Why you do it? Does anybody do this?
Nobody, but.
Everyone,
I'm
wants to admit
sure
it.
that everyone has seen at least one person in the last week walking around the street like this. And I'm always wondering, why are these people doing this? What's their problem?
Oh, wait, okay, I got one for you. I could not believe this. Could not believe this.
Okay.
So I'm dropping my dog off at my mom and dad's house 3 days ago. And my dad, who turns his computer off every time he's done using it, like hits the button and waits, and it's like, we're doing updates. And he's just like, whatever. Like, so it's always messed up, and I'm always fixing his computer. He loves playing the lottery, and in front of me the other day, when I'm dropping off my dog, he asked Siri what the lottery numbers were. And I couldn't believe that my dad, who turns everything off, the printer, turn it off, the computer, turn it off, like actually use voice search, and that shocked me. But my dad has
he's
more.
He's not going to buy anything from you either.
But my dad probably is seeking out multiple pieces of information throughout the day. That is just one of hundreds of questions he probably has that day on, like, you know, how do I drive here or there? Maybe voice, right? But like, for the most part, the questions that he has are not ones that I see voice driven. I'm just asking because I just don't see it. Like, I would think at a search conference, I'd see people doing more talking into the phones, and I just don't see people doing that very much. I just don't see it. So I'm waiting to see it more before I jump all in, because I think that's
true.
Like, to me, that's dangerous. It reminds me of like authorship. Like, talk about working with a Fortune 500.
Well,
it took me a year and a half to get a client to do authorship, and then by the time they did it, Google's like, yeah, we're done with that. And you're like, so I just want to see more adoption before I start telling clients, like, let us invest in like what it could be, but I'm saving my clients from that unless I have proof and data that shows that it's actually
So we
having
did
an
a
impact.
study on this, actually, and we found that we surveyed 1,000 people. 60% of the people said, a little more than 60%, said that they would do voice searches at home. And then if it was at home with friends, it already dropped to about 55%. And then as you get into different public venues, the numbers actually get pretty low. Although 13% of people will use voice searches with their phone while in a public restroom, according to...
That's interesting.
You know,
Really?
Where's the toilet paper? Left or right?
That's weird.
Yeah, by the way, we have the same kind of dad. My dad still calls me up and says, hey, son, my printer is broken. What do I need to do? You work with computers, right? Yeah. I have no idea. just get a new one. I think we're almost out of time, but I want to give the audience a chance to also ask a question, if there is a question. Is there a question from the audience? If not, I have another question.
Yeah, one there.
Is there one?
There.
There's one. Wait. The coach. Wow. Wait, I come to you. Don't worry. It looks like we're kissing, but we're not.
The question I have is, if there's only one answer, what is about the business model of Google itself? They have to sell that answer, right?
The business model?
Model.
Ah, the model. I thought like I'm crawling on here for the Google bottle. What?
I think he brought up a really good question. I mean, no, his question was when Google only has one result, what's their business model? What's their benefit? And at the moment, if you search, you have diversity, and diversity, I mean, in terms of organic and paid results. So you can click just multiple times,
but I think
not just
you already,
once.
I think you already answered this question, actually, which is that when somebody wants to buy something, it's going to go through Google Shopping. So they may give you a lot of things for free. Like if you just want to know how many meters in a mile, then you could get that answer for free. But if you actually want to buy something or do a transaction, they're going to get the transaction.
That's it. It's just about usage. People get used to doing everything on the phone. I tell everything, and then also going to start buying stuff, and I'm not using anything else because Google also always does a great job for me. Definitely.
People like options. I mean, like one thing about the one answer thing is people don't like too. I mean, this is like from real researchers who like study like behavioral psychology and things like that. Like people typically like to see a few things before they just see one. So here you go. One of the psychology things that I read was, how long is a long stick? How long is a long stick?
Okay.
Right. So without a frame of reference to compare them to, you actually don't know how long a long stick is, right? And it's actually a pricing mechanism. So for those of you who run agencies, it's human nature to want to compare something to something else before making a decision in many instances. So if you give your client 3 different options, they may not feel the need to go out and get 2 other options from other agencies. This is how people work. So you have to think, like, I think the one answer is fine if it's a commodity.
Yeah.
You know, and even I'm particular about my toilet paper. So I wouldn't be like, hey, Google, whatever toilet paper is the #1 answer, just send it to me. So I think that people do want some option. They don't just want to be like, oh, if you're thinking of this, here's the one thing for you all the time. Yeah. And it's complex. We have to figure out what searches are the right types of searches that have the lowest likelihood of being heavily disrupted by individual answers. Like, what's St. Patrick's Day? Easy answer. You know, well, what kind of costume should I wear for St. Patrick's Day? I don't want Google just dropping something off at my house and not having me look at 2 or 3 freaking options. Yeah. So I think it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
So you wear a costume on St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I wanted to cover that.
But
of course they're going to offer options, but there's going to be the default. It'll be the one answer, and then the user's going to have to take extra steps to go and get actually a broader array of things. And because of that, they'll capture a larger percentage than they normally would in a web search result, because there'll be a certain amount of resistance to doing that extra work.
Yep.
So we have one more question.
Yeah, it's a question for Dan, I think, from Australia. Why do you think Google's holding back on voice then? If it sounds so amazing and it's the future and 20%?
Yeah, they have huge amount of infrastructure and technology in machine learning. And I had the opportunity to speak to Behshad Behzadi, who came to Munich a couple of years ago. And they get things wrong. Every now and then, they'll make a mistake. And because they're not, like their confidence level is not there yet, they're sort of rolling back and trying again different methods. So them sort of withdrawing some of the functionality is a result of, okay, we tested this, didn't quite work out, we made some embarrassing mistakes, there were too many. They're okay when they make a few, but when they make many, they sort of roll back and try something else. By the way, you should follow that guy, Behshad Behzadi. He's in charge of Google's voice. Behshad,
it's so
good
easy,
luck.
right?
Google,
do a voice search.
phone.
Do a voice search for Behshad Behzadi and see if Google Voice knows its father.
Use Siri real quick.
So the last name is Behzadi.
Yeah, say that.
Thank you.
Who needs voice search? There's a human Wikipedia right there.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
Yes.
one last question. One last question before we wrap it up.
Over there, to the right.
Where?
Right there.
To the right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm there.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
My knees wouldn't take
Thank
it
you.
anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Wait.
I got one question, and it's actually
Looks like we're cuddling.
Yeah, it does.
He's very cuddly too.
I hope you like my smell. It's not party smell.
Go quick.
Okay, go. How you think Google will deal with the semiotic problem? Because if I ask a joke, how will they understand? Because this is a nut that is IBM with Watson trying to crack for years. So how will that happen? Because any funny joke or anything that is like kind of negative but meant positive, do you know what I mean? It's like, you really have a nice dress, but you don't. You know? It's
oh my God.
Yeah, let me
you know,
try
they
this again.
started this back in
question.
2007. They started this back in 2007 when Google started scanning all the books. Like, Google has been learning for literally 10 years of language, of what is meant to be funny, what is meant to be sarcastic. Oh, that's a good one. I like that, but there are books in every culture as well. Like, it isn't as hard as and unimaginable as it could be. If you've seen Battlestar Galactica, just saying.
But I mean, Google. Yeah,
oh yeah, I discovered that this morning.
But
I'm not funny in Germany.
But I think this is really funny how Star Trek actually, predicted the future with Data being like the perfect machine, but he's not able to understand jokes.
Yeah.
But he's then able to understand jokes later.
Yeah, that was very creepy.
And I believe Google always starts with English because that's the easiest. So I wouldn't say Google wants to solve these problems for every language, for every culture, because they just start with English. They make it great, and then they try to expand.
But it's not the easiest, though. Like in Norway, the Norwegian word for married also means poison. Just
I want to marry my wife, or I want to poison my wife?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a different user intent right there.
So actually, more words is easier, less words is harder, because you then need to know context again.
Wow. There's actually a Chinese word which means, depending on the context, left or right, which is also pretty hard. Go left. No, I meant right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. That's like, hey, I want to order the new, buy me the new Samsung Galaxy phone. Oh no, and then he buys it. No, it's just a joke because I'm an Apple guy, right? I wanted to buy the iPhone. Yeah, no, it's not good, not good. Okay, a bad joke. Two guys already leave, so I think we need to wrap it up. Because it's also lunch, yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for my fantastic panel. Please give it up. A big round of applause for my fantastic panel. And thank you all for enduring this session. And I hope you have a great rest of the day at SMX Munich. Thank you very much.